I'm here today with Matt Lewis for the first of many MantalityTV, and we're going to delve into his mind and we're going to find out some stuff about him which hopefully you guys don't know, and let's see where we go with it. So Matt.
I'm nervous, mate.
You're nervous?
Yeah.
So, first set of values. I've met your dad and I know your dad's a great bloke and I know he'd be proud of whatever you did. You know, if you did acting, if you applied your trade at anything else. What's the biggest first set of values, you know, biggest first lesson he taught you in life?
Oh wow, gee, yeah. Well, you know, I owe a lot to my dad really, because he worked for 40 odd years in an office doing a job that he hated, but he just did it because it meant that the four of us could have the lives that we wanted really.
Yeah.
And when my mum gave up her job because she had to come and look after me and Anthony, my older brother, when we were acting and that, chaperoning, it was my dad that had to, you know, keep on at work.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the things he said to me was that don't follow in my footsteps in terms of that. He says make sure that what you do is something that you love doing, you enjoy getting up in the morning to go and do, whether it pays you well or pays you nothing at all. Like, just make sure that you enjoy life. You know, don't live to work. You know, work so that you can go and live. And that's kind of what he instilled in me. And you know, I love my job and I try and work as hard as I possibly can. But the reason I work hard is so that I can go and experience life, basically, and do a lot of things that he didn't get to do in his youth. Luckily, with the way my career's gone, I've been able to sort of take my dad places that he never would have been before. I've been able to introduce him to all you lads, which has blown his mind. You know, the last 10 years or so has meant a great deal to him. So, yeah, I think I got that from him very early on.
Yeah, similar to my dad actually. And if I cast your mind back to 2012 Grand Final, you remember that night out which we had?
Well, bits of it.
Bits of it. I remember I'd done my arm.
Yeah.
We were in a sling. And it was the night after the Grand Final. I thought, I'm not staying in, I've just won Grand Final, I'm going to go out and have a good time. Anyway, we ended up like probably the two last in the bar. Had a good night, didn't we?
So drunk.
Yeah, we had a good night.
Drunk. It was amazing because I was working, if you remember. I didn't actually get to go to the Grand Final.
Yeah.
Because I was doing a play in London and I'd recorded it as I'd done the week before with the Wigan semi. I'd recorded it, turned my phone off the whole night, rushed home to watch it on TV on record, and so by the time I actually got to full time and saw that you'd won it, I called Jason Davidson up, and you guys were all in the throes of celebrating and whatnot, and I remember thinking, I'm not having this. Yeah. I'm not sitting in London while they're all up there celebrating this. So that exact moment at like midnight or whatever it was, I booked a train and came up to Leeds to go out with you lot, and
best night of your life, wasn't it?
It was a good night. It took some getting over it. I remember going on stage the following Monday night just in pieces, just not even knowing where I was. I don't know how I got through that show at all.
I mean, I remember you saying to me like, you're in a great position, you know, it's an awesome position you're in. So I was there, I'd look at my sling and I think, is this guy for real? He's been in, you know, the biggest film franchise there's been, and you know, he's so successful in what he's done. And then you said that to me, I was looking at my arm, I thought, this guy, is he nuts? Does he know what we have to go through? It's a tough game, and obviously there's the eyes of it. What is it that makes you love rugby league so much, and what makes you respect it that much?
Yeah, I got asked this question yesterday by there's a reporter who's based down in London, and so he sort of hands up. He was like, "Look, I don't really know a whole lot about rugby league, but I see from your Twitter and stuff that you do. What is it? What is it?" And you know, I'm always so keen to fly the flag for it. I mean, just purely as a spectator to begin with. You know, I watch it and I just find it absolutely fascinating, the level of skill required and intensity and fitness that is necessary to compete in rugby league. But then having been fortunate enough to get to know you all and see, you know, as I think Jamie Peacock's talked about it recently, you know, it's not the 80 minutes of the game that actually is everything. It's the week after when you're all in bits and you're all absolutely, you know, limping around everywhere, bruises all over, and then you've got to go back to training, and then the one day you finally feel good again, that's the night before you've got to go and do it all again. And I find that commitment over a season absolutely incredible. I don't think there's a sport that I'm aware of that requires that, maybe outside of boxing, Maybe. There's just something, a level of intensity that I just find absolutely admirable, and that belief to just keep getting up and keep going again, and yeah, you're all an absolute different breed, and I find I couldn't do it. I know that for a fact. I'd love to say that I could have done it in a previous life, but I wouldn't have a chance. I wouldn't have had a chance. Yeah. No way. I'm not tough enough. I don't have the mental commitment to do it. You know, and you guys, from everything, from the diet, from the keeping alcohol to a minimum and things, and just really focusing on your careers, and not to mention it's not a long lifespan as well as a rugby league player. I mean, you've had the lows with the injuries and stuff. It could be over at any moment. And the preparation and just sort of saying, that's all right, I accept that, but I'm still going to go and put my body on the line, literally body on the line every week, just for like people's entertainment. It's like the modern day gladiatorial battles in Rome, and it's incredible. And you guys all do it with the most humble spirit. Like, I don't want to go talk about football too much, but I see a lot of, not everyone, not all of them, but I see a lot of arrogance in that game. That you just don't get in rugby league. Like, despite the level of commitment that you guys go through, there seems to be much more humility to it. You have to look at Kev and JP, Jonesy over the years that have achieved everything there is to achieve, and yet you could just chat to them down the pub as if they've never done anything. It's incredible, and I respect that a great deal.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, obviously we're bred to do it. Since we're young kids, you play each week and you get knocked down and you have to get back up, and then it's a tough week that next week, and it's all right if you win, but if you lose it's a tough week picking yourself up that day after. But if you can be stronger mentally, or from losing or winning, whatever it is, that's probably the biggest thing that that you have to take from it. So is there any other performers that are into rugby league at the minute? In acting world that I've worked with, not a huge amount that I've come across. I try and take it everywhere I go with me. Obviously with Russell Crowe's touched on, but he let me use his box at South's game a while back. I've not actually met him, but he'd heard that we were in town because through like Sam Burgess and that, and he was out promoting something, so he let us use his box at ANZ, which was nice. So obviously I know of him. I did a really small cameo in a movie last week with Margot Robbie. She's an Aussie girl from Gold Coast, and so I was chatting to her a bit about rugby. So that was quite cool. She's a maroon and I'm a blue. Oh shit! So that didn't go down too well. Chatting about state of origin, but she was really lovely. So it's kind of cool. Like whenever you do come across someone, she told me this really cool story actually about how her and there's another actor, Jai Courtney, who's an Australian, and he's a blue, and they're on Suicide Squad, I think, and they had a bet over the state of origin last year, and that whoever lost would tattoo the name of the state of origin team on the other person. And obviously the Maroons won, so I think Jai Courtney's got a Queensland tattoo. He must be devastated. So it's fun. It's like there's not many of us around, so whenever you meet someone who's a rugby league fan in the world, it's like you cling to them. Let's talk about that and bore the hell out of everyone else. I remember a grand final last year, and there were a few good luck messages. I think you'd got around some of your mates you'd met in the cast and stuff, and Daniel Radcliffe, weren't they, and Amelia Clark. So we were watching on coach like, when they get into rugby league, we found out you'd been around them saying, we've got to beat Wigan. That was basically it. Like every job I did last year, because I'm like a broken record, so I'm so boring when I talk about it. And I've got, I'm always wearing Rhino's gear, and I've got a key ring, and all. I'm literally like such a top loser. And so every job I go on, I'm always talking about rugby league, and I'm always watching it. And people, bless them, because I work with a lot of really nice people. They try and take an interest, and they try and ask me, and I put them to sleep talking about it. But then obviously with grand final coming up, and it was so important, it was so huge, and I'm such a fan of you guys, and you guys have all been really good to me over the years. I wanted to just try and do something for the final, and so I asked basically everyone I worked with over the last year. I was saying, can you just do a little message for the lads before the final, because I really hate Wigan. I really want to beat Wigan. I don't know where the
they were just doing it for me, or whether they all hate Wigan as well. They probably do. They all helped. They all got on board.
Some messages were like, "Smash the Wigan!" Just Wigan, just Wigan that bit. Funny. Warwick Davis popped up on that. It was good.
Yeah, it was good. Everyone came through for that, so it was decent.
Yeah.
I don't know if it helped, but
I think it might.
Cuthbo were telling me that because he knocked on. I remember when he knocked on, it was right crucial moment. And he told me afterwards that he was thinking about Amelia Clark. ball came out the scrum and all he was thinking about was Khaleesi, he says, it's knocked on.
That's brilliant. Yeah, is there a certain lasting memory, so however small, however big the memory is, that you can take from Harry Potter? I know it was so many years that you'd been involved with it, but is there one certain memory which you can really, really identify? And
yeah, I mean, there's quite a few. Over 10 years, it's hard to sort of just pick one moment, but I can remember there's two moments, if you'll indulge me, like my very first day was at Alnwick Castle up in Northumberland. I was like 11 years old. I'd never worked on anything of that scale before, and it was the scene in the first movie where Neville gets on the broomstick for the first time and he flies off and crashes into the wall and stuff. And Chris Columbus, the director, who even as a kid, like I was a huge fan of, like he wrote Mrs. Doubtfire, directed Home Alone and all this kind of stuff. Basically came up to me and went, just so you know, like this whole first week's going to be about you, so no pressure. I was like, all right, thanks Chris, that's great, thanks mate. But everyone, he was only joking around and they were really great with us all and ended up being the most fun I've ever done, like to step on a film set like that and suddenly have stunt coordinators coming and strapping you up for harnesses and putting you on. And the broomstick was literally attached on a big crane on the back of a lorry and they just drove it round and it was up in like 20, 30 foot in the air. So as an 11-year-old kid, it was just unbelievable. And then I fast forward to like the final movie where my last day, which was in the big courtyard at the final battle when Voldemort dies. And that courtyard was very similar to the one at Alnwick, but the film had become such an entity and such a phenomenon that we didn't really film on location anymore. We just built that courtyard at Legion Studios, and that kind of struck home with me about like the scale of what we'd done with this movie. Because being inside that bubble, I mean, I never really appreciated like just how big it was, and it wasn't until the film finished. I don't think I still appreciate it now, but like going around the world and seeing like fans in Australia and China and in America and all these other places, it's hard to get your head around that. Yeah. But I remember that moment, just being in that courtyard, thinking, wow, this is a big deal. Like we've built an entire scale like Durham Cathedral courtyard, and we're making this film with hundreds of extras and Ralph Fiennes and Alan Rickman and all these amazing people. And it was my last day, and I sort of just remember just going, it's been a hell of a journey, this. Yeah. So those are the two that I can really picture quite vividly. Yeah,
I mean, it's for people our age or my age, it's weird because we've grown up with Harry Potter, so it's been aligned with that, as we've grown up. So it's a really big thing, and obviously the perception for us, it's magical, it's everything like that. And then, like you say, with that, you've got a lorry that's attached to a crane. Yeah. Is it weird for you to watch it and to think, okay, that was actually attached to a crane, but now I'm flying and crashing into a wall?
Yeah, like really odd. And the thing is, like, I mean, I've seen them all like once, and I've not seen them again. I tried to watch the first one a few months back because I was going to go watch them all. Yeah. Because I thought it's been like 5 years now. I watched them all. I watched the first one and just went, nah, I'm done. I don't want to see any more of that. But yeah, the first time you see it in the cinema, on premiere night or whatever, it's pretty mad really, because as I say, I'm used to seeing it with green screen or on a lorry, and I'm not really involved with the post-production side of things and seeing the special effects go in and visual effects. So it was as much a shock to me, a lot of the stuff, as it was for everyone else. And there is quite an excitement of doing a scene where you have it described to you what it's going to look like, and you have Stuart Craig in the art department sort of show you, what his vision is, what he's planning on it looking like, and then you go and do it, and you try your best to imagine those environments, but you're just surrounded by, in a big aeroplane hangar, surrounded by green, just trying to conjure it up in your mind. And then you've got that excitement of on the night going, God, I hope it looks all right. I hope that big massive, dragon that I was supposed to be scared of is actually a big massive dragon, and I'm not just,
So you don't see that before then, so you've got to kind of envision what it's going to look like.
Yeah, and you've just got to have faith in the post-production team that they're not going to make you look an idiot, So
Brilliant. So is there any jokers or any people who take on specific, you know, so you speaking team wise, there's Rob Burrow who comes in and he's had 6 double espressos before 8 o'clock, and he's the joker and he's around the change rooms and he's playing tricks and stuff. Is there anyone that takes that kind of role on, or is this a real social guy, or from experience?
well, you know what, like, I've been very fortunate that most of the environments that I've been able to work in have all been absolutely really chilled, really relaxed, really fun, and that kind of stuff is really, really encouraged.
Yeah.
And that's sort of set by a director or a lead actor or actress or whatever. Yeah, as I say, everyone I've worked with has been like that. Directors actually, I remember Alfonso Cuarón on Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter, was always a bit of a prankster and was always pulling stunts and things like hiding fart machines on set. And in the middle of his own shots, he'd be like ruining the shot just for a joke. It was like, you know, it's $100,000 a take, but yeah, you fill your boots, Alfonso. Like,
Have fun,
yeah, just. But it keeps the energy up.
Yeah.
It keeps everyone enjoying it. And Thea Sharrock, our director on the last film I did, Me Before You, she pranked me on that. There was a scene where I had to. There's a revelation of a pair of tights that this guy's bought my girlfriend in it, and I don't understand the context of these tights. I don't understand why they're so important to her, and so I just say, tights. And Thea said, she came in and said, can you just keep saying that a load of different ways, just straight down the lens, just keep saying it. So I started going, tights, tights, tights. I just think of like just different ways on the spot. I must have said it about 20, 30 times. I could hear them. Yeah, straight down. I could hear them all laughing behind the monitor outside. She's like, I got it on first one. I was supposed to say how many different ways you could say tights. And just little stuff like that just, you know, we don't really have time for it because the schedules are so tight, but it just keeps everyone going together, and those kind of people are really, they're really invaluable, and it's about leadership really. It's about knowing when to do that and when not to do it, and I think that it's really important to have that skill and that ability if you're going to lead a shoot, whether it's as a lead performer or as a director, to be able to go, okay, right, that's the joke, that's got everyone going again, everyone's happy, but now let's get the job done.
Yeah. So has there been any hard times as an actor over the years?
Yeah. I remember there's quite a few really. It's just I'm quite critical as an actor. I think most actors are very, very critical of themselves, of their performances and whatnot. There's something about the profession where you can never be the complete article. You can never be. You can never sit there and go, oh, I am now the perfect actor. I know everything there is to know about my job, my craft, this, that, and the other. You're always learning. You're always adapting. You're always trying to add more to your repertoire, and so I constantly feel like I've not done enough. I've not prepared enough. I've not done this, that, and the other, and I sort of can be quite hard on myself sometimes. And I remember I did and also I don't even know if if I was meant to do this. Like, you know, it's one of those things that I do and I enjoy it and I love doing it. But I would never sit there and go, oh, I'm naturally talented at this. This is me. This is what I was born to do. And so I try and work really hard at it, and I did a play a few years back, 2011, and it was the first play that I'd done professionally, you know, outside of school and drama school and that, and it was a tour, and so I went away from home for 6 months, and that alone was quite difficult. I was quite a homebody at the time. I loved Leeds. Being around my friends and family there, and so the fact that I was actually going to up sticks and just go tour the country for 6 months was a bit intense. And then I was just really bad at it. I was just I'd never done it before. It's a whole different school of acting. You know, the projection, to convey the emotions right to the back row. You know, I was so used to for 10 years on Potter, and then like 6 years before that being a TV actor, I was so used to being able to internalise a lot, and you know, when you got a close-up, everything's, you know, blown up to a huge size for everyone to see the emotion in your eyes, whereas on stage you don't have that luxury, and you have to really convey a lot of emotions, and it's almost overacting, but obviously it's not. Yeah. But it's making sure that all your decisions, all your choices are very, very clear. Without just shouting in people's faces, which is what I was doing for the first few months. I had no idea how to use my voice, to use my diaphragm, all these kind of things. I had no idea. Sort of jumped in at the deep end really, and a lot of really bad reviews. For me specifically, like the player was what it was. It was a good 3 stars, you know.
Yeah.
But a lot of tough reviews for me personally. And it's one of those things where you go, I just don't read them. But you know, there's a part of me that's always like, oh, you want to know though, don't you? Yeah. You want to know, and it's kind of like you always want to know if you're doing any good, because I don't have any faith in myself. I can't come off stage and go, that was good. I need someone else to tell me it was good. And I could read maybe 99 reviews saying it was brilliant, and 1 review saying it was rubbish, and that's all I'm going to care about and think it was rubbish. And you can't please everyone. Acting in general is very subjective. But no, I remember being about 3 months into that tour. I was in Cardiff in a hotel room, and I called my best mate Nick, and I was just like, I can't do this. I can't do it. I've had enough. I'm quitting this play. I don't even know if I can do the job on TV and film. Like I'm a bad actor, and that was probably the lowest point career-wise for me. Yeah. But again, it was a case of just picking yourself up and going, well, you've been given this job, so you can either quit, and then what do you do? Just disappear into obscurity, or do you make an effort to do something about it? Yeah, okay, so maybe you're not a naturally gifted actor, but you've got a set of tools to work with, so do what you can do. And so I just tried really hard to focus on what everyone else was doing, the other actors who've been doing it for years, and a couple of guys, Mark Winter, Rob Duncan, who were seasoned pros on the stage, and I tried to ask as many questions as possible. I tried to learn from them, and after another month or so, maybe 4 months into the run, something just clicked. I suddenly got it. Yeah. And the director, Joe Harmston, he worked tirelessly with me, and it just clicked, and I learned those breathing techniques. I learned how to do it, and the last 2 months, I just really enjoyed it. It flew by, and I suddenly had this passion for it again. The reviews completely, swung the other way, and it was amazing that the idea that I did have it, I just had to work and perfect it and hone it. And I think ever since then I've been very, very aware that it's not a case of just turning up and thinking you can just do the job. Yeah. It's just not as simple as that. And now I try and make sure that I am fully aware of that I might not get it first time or second time or 3 months of times, but eventually it's gonna come, and you just got to work towards it. And as long as people keep giving me the opportunity to do that, I'll keep trying it. But that dip, that bit that really shook my confidence, I would not have been able to. That job changed me, defined me in so many ways, personally and professionally. I don't think I would have ended up having the career that I've had so far if I'd not gone to those depths there. I had a lot of growing up to do, a lot of learning to do on that job, and it changed me for the better. And there's a few points throughout my career where that's happened, not as low as that, but a few points, and it's all about just getting back on the horse really and going, okay, well, where did that go wrong? Why did they give you a rubbish review? What can you do about it? Yeah. And it's one of the problems I have with non-constructive criticism. It's like, what job are you serving there? Who are you? Is it you stroking your own ego by telling someone they're useless? Yeah. But if you're not being constructive, then how are you helping anyone to get any better? Like we're all trying to wade our way through life, trying to figure it out. No one knows what they're doing. Your boss doesn't know what they're doing. They're pretending they are, and they're probably pretty good at pretending. But no one knows what we're doing in life. Yeah. So we're all here to just give each other a hand up. And so, fortunately, every other actor I've worked with throughout my career has been very keen to do that, and I've benefited from it. And it's just always be aware that there's a lot of people around you who have more experience and there's more to learn from, and that's helped me. So that's a really, really long answer, but yeah. It's
something you have to nail, innit? There's pressure there, and especially you're talking about live performances, you've got to nail it, haven't you? There's no other second opportunity. Like you can go for another cut on, on other films and stuff you've worked on, but when you're live, it's that night. It's a combination of several factors. As a professional in whatever job you're doing, people are paying for the services. People are paying to come and watch me on stage or in a film. People are paying you to come watch you play rugby. But then that aside, there's also a whole load of other people that are involved or invested. There's a director, there's other actors on the stage. There's the theatre who've got to make money to stay open. You've got
you know, Mac and as well as the fans, you've got the CEOs, you've got the CADIC, you've got all these investors and all these people who've put their time and all that into it. And it's the case of just being aware that, you know, you're there to have a good time. We're all here to have a good time, it's life, but it's not, you just can't be selfish.
Talking in specific of approaching a film and what regimes you take, you know, how long is it before you approach it, and how long do you learn your lines for? And you know, physically, I know you do a lot physically for this latest film, Me Before You. What kind of stuff entails into the lead up of a film, and you know, you can answer that really.
I mean, it all varies massively. You know, obviously from the role itself, what it requires, and then the time scale that you're allowed on the film. You do something like Harry Potter where you've got, you know, $150 million to play with, then you've got time. There is maybe 0.001% of productions that have that kind of budget and that kind of time. The one thing that most productions, the vast majority of productions don't have, is money and time. And so it all depends largely on that. I mean, with TV, with Ripper Street, for example, that I've just finished, we used to get our scripts maybe 2 days before we started shooting on the next couple of episodes, and then script revisions would be coming through constantly, so it's very, very difficult to learn any kind of lines for that. What you do is you'd sort of mark, or what I would do is I would first try and figure out the character. I'd speak to the writers and the producers and try and get their angle on it. I'd try and get some story of where he's come from, to try and gather, you know, what is, because I don't think you can figure out where someone's going until you know where someone's come from. And as a character, it's all about, you know, it's motivations, like what in this story, what is my character trying to achieve, what are his goals within the context of this script. And then once you've learned that, then I think a lot of the rest of it starts to come with it. And so you try and get as many answers as possible. Some of them you conjure up yourself, and you can piece them together from people you know, personal experience, little bits and bobs like that. And then once you've got all that, that's when you can start putting the dialogue to it. But doing it the other way around is mad. Like, so it's the dialogue sort of comes towards the end really. And then for me, it's a simple case of just repetition, just hammering it again and again and again, trying to get those lines to go into your head. But the brilliant thing is that once you've got the character and you get it's quite hard to explain, but once you get the rhythms of how they speak, it gets easier and easier and easier. At first it's odd because it feels ugly in your mouth because it's not the way you talk. It's not the words that you would use. But once you get to know the person and the rhythms, then it goes in a lot easier, and then you can start to ad-lib, then you can have a bit of fun with it. But it's all about just being as prepared as possible and knowing your character and the material, so that when you go on the stage or the set or whatever, you're not thinking, oh, what's my next line? The next line's going to just come reflexively. All you're thinking about is, what's my motivation behind that line? Why am I saying it? What am I trying to get out of this other person? And that's when it becomes fun then. Once you know your lines, that's the hard bit, that's the boring bit. Once you know them, then you can have fun with it and you can play around and do different inflections, different ways of approaching it, and that's what I enjoy. But that can't come unless you're already in the mind of whoever. So a lot of that's my main starting point, is trying to figure out who I am and what I'm trying to achieve. And then I guess the kind of physical side of it comes as part of that. So again, if we use Ripper Street as an example, I was playing a young guy who was a desk sergeant, was very young for being a sergeant, probably newly minted, newly promoted, but in the eyes of all he was very, very good at his job, deserved to be a sergeant, but in the eyes of his superiors was probably very, very young, and so he was constantly trying to up his status, if you like. So I grew this big moustache and these big sideburns. It was Victorian era, and I was thinking, well, if I was a young kid in Victorian England, what's the one thing that makes you look like more of a man? It's facial hair. So I thought that was the thing. So again, it's all those kind of aspects that once you understand the character and what he's trying to achieve, the physical side of it comes with that. Me Before You, I was playing a triathlete. All he was focused on was his triathlon. He was also a PT, so that was kind of a no-brainer. Well, he's got to look good, he's got to be in good nick. He's probably going to care about his appearance, because when he goes to be his PT, he wants his clients to think, I want to look like that guy. So it's all like little bits of that. You just gotta know your character, and then the rest of it should, like a jigsaw, just start to fall into place, really.
So would you come home and speak to your housemates or whoever, and would you still be in character and think, oh,
sometimes, like, I mean, the weird thing is, with accents, like I was playing a Cockney in Rugby Street for like 6 months, and I'd be amazed how often, like, when I've like banged my foot or something, you know, something that's a reflex, you'll start to do it in whatever accent you've been using the whole time, and you have to really snap out of it, and it's hard, it's difficult. But I do it sometimes. I'm not too bad with it, but it can be tricky. There's certain words that you start to say differently, and
I've noticed your accent changing.
Oh, BF, don't tell me that.
Got these mugs out to remind you.
Yeah, I know, that's it. I got my Yorkshire mugs, so I know where I came from.